Today for you, we have all about safe landing, all about Melody Smith, Kim Jockl, and their family story about the American Airlines Flight 191. Unfortunately, both their parents were killed in that accident. So they have some wonderful memories, some fascinating stories to share with you about this piece of local history. So please welcome Melody and Kim.
All right, okay. Okay, wait, let me just make sure I got my clicker here. Okay.
Are we good to go?
You are all set.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Melody Smith.
And I am Kim Jockl. We are two of three children of Corinne and Bill Borchers, who died on American Airlines Flight 191. Thanks for having us this afternoon, Des Plaines History Center, and much thanks to Emma Marston, Siobhan Harity, Brian, Jean Herring, who made the connection for us to be here with you all today.
We are here today to give you a brief overview of our book, Safe Landing, which begins with 31 seconds on May 25th, 1979. Those 31 seconds forever changed our lives, but in the end, it did not define us. Our upbringing and our family helped us heal.
As you will read in our book, our parents, Corinne and Bill Borchers, better known as Nudie and Bill, decided to plan a second honeymoon and take a trip, as I was to be married on June 2nd, 1979, but mutually called it off. I was also graduating from college later in June and left for Acapulco with friends, and 2 days later, they boarded American Airlines Flight 191. Destination, Hawaii. Melody was 32, Jim, our brother, was 29, and I was 23 years old at the time of the crash. As I just said, I was in Acapulco. Melody and Jim were going about their lives leading up to a Memorial Day weekend that was going to be a bit different, as our parents would not be home, kicking off summer with a great red letter day barbecue for family and friends. On Melody's 32nd birthday in January of that year, our mom wrote her a very long letter.
The letter Mom wrote me detailed how if and when she was no longer able to get us together, she requested that I, her firstborn, please continue our traditions, not just for the fun of it, but for the love of it. Little did I know that letter would be read at their memorial about 4 months later, and has been my directive for 43 years. Mom's letter is in the book.
Just as the crash destroyed 273 lives, including our parents, it also impacted thousands upon thousands of lives, including ours, as everything we knew changed on May 25th, 1979. Years later, we would discover that this number was far greater, impacting not only families of those lost, but first responders, second responders, airport personnel, and those who were just part of the identification process. The house at 5508 North California is a significant part of our story.
Mom and Dad built their home on the GI Bill in 1946. Dad served on an LST in World War II. That house, along with our parents, was a touchstone and a base for all of us. That house would always be home. Good or bad, we could always go home. Our gatherings there became more and more important as we got older. We grew up with every holiday, birthday, graduation, and Red Letter Day being celebrated there. It was an absolute that you could always count on until May 25th, 1979.
This picture was taken on Mother's Day 1979, a couple weeks before the crash, and was the last time we were all together. Numbness would best describe our initial feelings, as we were all in shock, going through the motions of a memorial service without anyone identified, followed by 2 funerals, once they were both identified, but not at the same time, and we all coped in our own distinct ways.
So around the 24th anniversary, Kim, Jim, and I decided to set out to first find the spot that the plane crashed. We were finally able to open up boxes, read newspaper clippings, and face and look and find where our parents died and realistically where they were buried. We were also combing articles in newspapers and obituaries 23 years later, after the fact, sending letters blindly asking if they were related to a person lost on the flight. That field trip to find the crash site led Kim to contacting Terry O'Brien, head of the Water Reclamation Department of Chicago, who was a classmate of Kim's at St. Hilary's and helped us getting out on the crash site with our spouses, some O'Hare officials, Father Mike Zaniola, the O'Hare chaplain, and by that visit, we had found Michael Lux, Walter Lux, the pilot's son, and Mrs. Dillard, the co-pilot's wife. Once on the site, we knew other people who had lost loved ones needed to also get out on this site and have this same experience. So we asked the O'Hare officials if we could try to find families who lost loved ones and organize a 25th anniversary in the chapel and hopefully get them all out on the crash site. They said it could be done.
This picture is all of us on the actual crash site in 2003. It is the first time that any family members came together to share their grief and memories and honored their loved ones collectively. This reflection was written and read by me to commemorate this first visit out on the site. It is also in the book.
We contacted American Airlines for the manifest to aid us in locating passengers. They said it would not be made public until after the 25th anniversary, which was too late for us. Michael Lux was key in putting together for the very first time 273 names, and he got help from his contacts at American Airlines. It was not an official manifest, but it was the first time we had all 273 names listed together. By the time of the 25th, we found about 20 families, and the O'Hare chapel was filled with airline employees who lost colleagues on the flight, and first and second responders who responded to the crash along with the family and friends. It was a great day finally meeting people who all in some way shared in the agony of May 25th, 1979. We all vowed to keep searching for families. There was no Google, and a memorial of some sort or place to gather was the goal after meeting together that day.
It was important to me to have a resolution of remembrance and recognition of this disaster from the city of Chicago read out loud at that 25th anniversary. What I assumed to be a routine request was not. I eventually reached out to Alderman Patrick O'Connor, who I also attended grade school with, and who also knew our parents. He was able to honor our request, recognizing Flight 191 as the worst non-terrorist aviation disaster in the history of the United States, and is still today. Fast forward to Decatur Classical School year 2009-2010, where I was the assistant principal. The sixth grade students at Decatur Classical School in 2009 participated in Project Citizen, a national civic education program coordinated by the Constitutional Rights Foundation of Chicago. Project Citizen allowed students to look at issues in their community, analyze public policies, and try to make a difference. They chose American Airlines Flight 191 that had been forgotten and the need for memorial as their project.
60 bright, determined sixth graders presented their project at the Federal Dirksen Building, May 22nd, 2010, and it won and went on to be a national recognized winning project. Key public figures supported the work and ideas presented by the students and teachers. This slide shows the students presenting their project in the courtroom at the Dirksen Building in downtown Chicago.
It was so great that the three of us as a family, along with Jim's wife Jennifer, were able to be there to attend the students' presentation and celebrate this moment with the two sixth grade teachers, Beth Allegretti and Marianne Sharping, who are in this photo.
Key public figures supported the work and ideas presented by the students and teachers, such as U.S. Congresswoman Jan Jockl and attorney Thomas Demetrio of Corboy and Demetrio law firm. Representative Jockl is shown in this picture with the students who repeated their presentation for her at Decatur Classical School.
The Constitutional Rights Foundation of Chicago awarded Mrs. Allegretti and Mrs. Sharping the Edward J. Lewis II Teachers of the Year Award. The project also received national recognition. Dreams do come true. With the support and backing of Illinois State Senator Dan Katowski at the time, his staff, Representative Jan Jockl, and at the time, Mayor Marty Moylan, now Illinois State Representative, as well as Don Militek, Director of Des Plaines Park District, the Students Project found a future site in Lake Park, Des Plaines, Illinois. Robert Artz, who also died on Flight 191, was Executive Director of the Illinois Association of Park Districts, along with being a resident of Des Plaines.
On October 15, 2011, the Flight 191 Memorial in Lake Park, Des Plaines, Illinois was dedicated. Should the Chicago Children's Choir of Decatur Classical School provided musical background while the spirits of Flight 191 danced to the twirling winds that day. At the dedication, with hundreds in attendance, it was a far cry from our 25th memorial gathering in the chapel and on the site. It was a glorious day for 60 bright, determined sixth graders, along with hundreds of people connected to the flight.
Finally, 32 years after the crash, there was a place to remember and honor those lost on May 25th, 1979, just down the road from where 273 lives were lost and thousands of lives were changed forever. It is the place we gather every May 25th and throughout the year to visit and remember in a beautiful setting the 273 souls lost.
14 left, 32 right. In 2018, the three of us took pictures of the runway being permanently closed at O'Hare. However, it continues to not be forgotten as it is in the training facility at the airport for responders. On the 39th anniversary, while visiting the memorial, we crossed paths with many people who asked if we were doing anything for the 40th. Their inquiry spurred us to call Gene Herring in Des Plaines and asked if he thought it would be possible to do something special for Flight 191 40th anniversary. In true Des Plaines fashion, he did not hesitate and answered yes.
By the fall, planning the 40th was underway with Ron, Gene Herring, and his wonderful Des Plaines team, Brian Panic and Maureen Stern. Words cannot express our gratitude to them and the entire Des Plaines community for being part of this journey. For the 40th anniversary, the readers of the 273 names of Flight 191 were chosen to represent those directly connected to this crash in some fashion, such as family members, first and second responders, O'Hare officials, and many more. This picture is of a few of the original sixth graders who are now seniors in college, along with the principal, Sue Kukelka, the teachers, Beth and Sue, and yours truly.
40 years later, we have a greater realization and an appreciation of the first responders' involvement and their pain. We concluded the 40th anniversary with a water salute over the memorial site. The water salute was 4 10-second bursts of water over the site to commemorate the 4 decades that have passed since May 25th, 1979.
Melody and I always talked about writing the story of our journey for our kids so they would know and have all the memorabilia, 3 large binfuls in one book with our story, so they would know not only the facts of how their grandparents, great-grandparents died, but how fragile life is, a lesson we learned the hard way, and how Flight 191 impacted our lives and how we embraced life because of it, probably a bit differently. We made good on our promise, invited Jim, our brother, to join us, and the 3 of us have met every Thursday since September 2017, when I officially retired for book club.
We met Chris O'Brien, founder and owner of Long Over Books, through a friend of mine, Bev Ottaviano, who ironically was a teacher at Faith, Hope, and Charity School at the time of the crash. On the day of the crash, she was teaching the daughter of Frank Jemmy, a passenger on Flight 191. Chris O'Brien and his staff helped us put the finishing touches, edits, 200 photos, and stories together, resulting in a historical book to present to our family, which we have on display today for all of you to see.
The family book reveal happened on September 6, 2021. We presented book boxes and letters to our family on the meaning of life from each of us and how the crash ultimately influenced our family's direction and their lives.
Chris O'Brien encouraged us to write more stories, and our public safe landing book has 1/10 the number of photos, the same historical timeline story of our Flight 191 journey, sprinkled with stories of growing up as the children of Nudie and Bill Borchers in Chicago. The reader has more of a sense of who they were and what our family was all about prior to May 25th, 1979. We are forever grateful to the Des Plaines community and role they played in helping Flight 191 never be forgotten. Our book is available for purchase today for $20. Copies here today are signed by all 3 of us. You can also purchase our book at any brick and mortar bookstore, and we are now in their database, and we can be easily ordered online through Amazon or our publisher, Long Overdue Books. There is now also a Kindle version. Thank you for having us here and listening to our story.
All right, well, thanks for coming out on a cold Thursday.
And during the holidays, too. So
Yeah.
really.